Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Once again, we are coming here for the weekly parashat, and today is a parasha Va'etchanan, which can be read in the book of Devarim, which is a book of Deuteronomy, from the chapter 3, verse 23 to 7:11. So, of course, I will not read all. I will pick some points which I find very interesting. First of all, for the context, we need to understand that this book is very particular in the sense that it happened according to the book itself. In the chapter 1, verse 3, it is written, came to be in the 40th years, in the 11th month, so it's 11 Chodesh in the Hebrew, on the first day of the Chodesh, the new moon, that Moshe spoke to the children of Israel according to all that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh had commanded him concerning them. Now it's very interesting to see it is in the last month of the children of Israel to be in the desert, in the place before entering the land of Canaan under the leadership of Yehoshua, the son of Nun, called in English Josué, and the last month of the life of Moshe. Particularity is that in this book we see Moshe speaking in the first person, I. You will see many times Moshe speaking in the first person, which is addressed to the last generation who will enter the land of Canaan. This is a shadow of the things to come. The Torah is written during the 40 years of the children of Israel who were in the desert 40 years from the coming out from Mitzrayim, and only the last generation beside the Yehoshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, who will enter the land of Canaan. All the others who were above 20 years old died in the wilderness. This is a shadow of things coming right now in the last days for the generation who will see the coming of the Mashiach. Mashiach is near. Mashiach is about to come very soon, and we need to be prepared for his coming. He can come at any time. And I want also to give a warning for those who go to assemblies and they don't teach Torah, because the Torah is a tree of life. If peradventure you go to an assembly and they don't teach Torah, leave and go to another place, because the Torah is essential for our life. And if your leader do not teach Torah, he is not a leader. So, and it's very important to understand, you can discuss whatever you want, but the Torah is the center of a life from every believer claiming to walk in the Shabbat, to keep the Shabbat, to eat kosher food, and so on and so on. If your leader do not teach every Shabbat the Torah, is not your leader. It's just babbling. Okay, so this is, you can check yourself. The Torah is the center of the life. The Brit Hadasha reflects the Torah. It doesn't reflect any personal opinions. It reflects the Torah. The Brit Hadasha is always speaking about the Torah. The Brit Hadasha do not exist as such in the first century, in the time of Yeshua. When the apostle, when the Yeshua is speaking about scripture, he refers always to the Torah, the prophet, or the writings, nothing else, never about the Brit Hadasha. The Brit Hadasha was compiled later and is a great tool, of course, for those coming back to the word of truth, the Torah. It's a great help, and we will not diminish the value of the Brit Hadashah. But when we speak from Scripture, we speak from the Torah. So thus say, we have now, today, we are in the PARASHAH VA'ETCHANAN, which is the second parasha of the book of Devarim. Moshe speaking to the generation that will enter the land of Canaan and speak again about the 10 davars, the 10 words, and the different points. He plead with Elohim, he plead with Elohim, thus the name Va'etchanan, and he will to enter the land, which will be not possible, because Moshe had to die in order for the children of Israel to enter the land of Canaan. This is why we see the death of Miriam, the death of Aaron, the brother of Moshe, and then the death of Moshe himself. This is very interesting because if we go in a deeper sense, we can see that many times in history, the possibility of the establishment of the kingdom was there, but because of the failure of men, the Bene Adam, it couldn't happen. Let's say now, in the time of Moshe, Moshe was a redeemer of Israel. He brought the children of Israel out from Mitzrayim. If the children of Israel say, or follow what they said in the book of Shemot, to love Jehovah and to follow him and to keep his commandment, then Moshe will have entered the land of Canaan, and we will have today the kingdom of Elohim on earth. First time. Second time was with the first destruction of the temple, when they rebelled against Elohim. He also, the king Hezekiah, was considered to be the potential Mashiach. Failure, it didn't happen. Then we have Yeshua coming, and he didn't come as the Mashiach. He came first as a prophet like Moshe. We can read that in Yohanan 1:45, and other place in the chapter 6 of the book of Yohanan. You can read it also. He came as a prophet, and the role and the purpose of the prophet was to bring back the children of Israel, the children of Yodevah, to the covenant, which of course didn't occur again. So the establishment of the kingdom was again postponed. We are now the generation who come and expect to see the kingdom to come. And he will come. He will come, and we trust Jehovah to establish it very soon, maybe in our days. So then we come that. But today I will focus on one point from the chapter 6 from the parasha, and you know it. It is about the great commandment and explain some few points. So when we read here, I will open the Bible in chapter 6 and read for you here and verse 1, and we go down. And this is the commandment, the Torah and right ruling which Yodevah, your Elohim, has commanded to teach you to do in the land which you are passing over to possess. We say the prerequisite is to keep it in the land to be kept, is to keep the commandments of Jehovah, so that you fear Yodevah, your Elohim, to guard all his Torah and his commands, which I command you, which I command you, I, Moshe, command you and your son and your grandson all the days of your life, and that your days be prolonged. You see the consequence, or the result, not the consequence, but the result of keeping the commandment, the mitzvot of the Torah, is that your days be prolonged. And he said, verse 3, and you shall hear, O Israel, and shall guard to do, to hear and to guard, that might be well with you, and that you increase greatly, as Yodevah, Elohim of your fathers, has spoken to you in the land flowing with milk and honey. So now in the verse 3, I will look into the 3, and he say here, Veshama ata, Israel, Veshama ata, hear and do, work together. When we hear Shama ata, it is from the word Shema. Shema is to hear in the goal to do, and not just to hear. It comes from one ear and goes out from the other. So we have to do. And he say in the verse 4, you know the verse, Shema Israel, Yod He Vav He, Eloheinu, Yod He Vav He is Echad, is one. So, and he say, you shall love Yehovah, your Elohim, with all your heart, with all your being, with all your resources. And he added, we see that now Yeshua was pointing to the Pharisee, and he spoke here. When we look, because we find that in the book of Matthew, the book of Mark, in the book of Luke. We will look in the book of Luke for a simple reason, because Luke wrapped the both commandments into one. This is why we will look it here in Luke, and we do in Luke chapter 10, and we look in the verse 27, and we see very interesting. Excuse me, oh no, I am not in Luke, so it cannot work. Luke, yes, now I am in 10, and I will go to the verse 27, and he say, what has been written in the Torah, speaking to Yeshua, how do you read it? And Yeshua answering, say, you shall love Yehovah, your Elohim, with all your heart, with all your being, with all your resources, with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. He is matching together Devarim, Deuteronomy 6:5, or 6:4 and 5, with Vayikra, Leviticus 19:18. So now this is very important for the life of believer today, because many parts are neglected. Oh yes, I love God, I love Elohim, I love God, I love Elohim. All the days you can hear that from believers. The point here is to determine what is love. And if we want to know what is love, there is one special book to read. It is a 1 John, and to read, because Yohanan spent time to teach what does it mean to love Elohim. You see? So it's very important. And one verse is, I will go to the book of Yohanan, because it's very important to understand that today many doctrines are running all around the net, but we forget the weightier points of the love. What is love? What is love? Love is first to keep the commandments of Elohim, as we see in 1 John 5:3. You see here is to, he say, by this 5:2. By this we know that we love the children of Elohim, when we love Elohim and guard his command. Remember? Shama and Shema. For this is the love for Elohim, that we guard, that we keep his commands, and his commands are not heavy. They are not heavy. You see? So the first of all is that the love is wrapped in the commands, in the mitzvah of Elohim, in the Torah. Okay? So now, we keep going. We keep going. Yohanan explain what is love. Okay? He will say, again in chapter 4, hear us. He say, beloved one, let us love one another, because love is of Elohim, and everyone who loves has been born of Elohim and knows Elohim. The one who does not love does not know Elohim, for Elohim is love. You see? He say here, by this the love of Elohim was manifest in us, that Elohim has sent his only brought forth Son into the world, in order that we might live through him. And this is love, not that we love Elohim, but that he loved us and sent his son to be an atoning offering for our sins. Now it goes on and say in verse 20, he says, if someone says, I love Elohim, and hate his brother, he is a liar. For the one not loving his brother whom he has seen, how is he able to love Elohim whom he has not seen? Beloved brothers and sisters, this is a point that we need to hammer in this last day. Because Mashiach, he doesn't come for you or for me. He comes for all Israel. He comes for the body of Mashiach. He comes for all those who have been joined together as one, echad. And this is what we need to understand when we speak to one another. Oh, you will say, oh yes, but you know, this one, he doesn't speak the name like I speak. Okay, oh, how can I love him? If he goes to an assembly, he doesn't. Who cares? Who cares? Don't be blindfolded by this kind of attitude. That's not the way it should be. In the commandment is to love one another. Yeshua goes more, it's in the book of Yohanan, he say, by this they will know that you are my Talmidim, by your love. By your love they will know. Not by your knowledge, not by your mind, not by your strength, by your love. The love is a commandment we cannot go and pass by. So we need to understand that, and we need to meditate on that. How do I love? Yes, okay. He doesn't speak the name like I speak. It's no problem. Let him. Let everyone speak as he is now, how he is convinced. The day will come, Mashiach will settle the problem for all time. It will be finished. On this day, we will see Mashiach as he is. We will be transformed in his likeness. There is no more discussion about how we pronounce the name of our Elohim, and everything will be established. So why do you or do we fight now for nothing against the name? Think about that. Let that ponder in your mind and see the unity is more important than to be right or to be wrong. You are right, okay. You say so this way, and you are right, okay, no problem. I say it another way, no problem. You see, love is not stopped by this kind of stuff. Love is not stopped by the fact that I go to an assembly and you go to another assembly. There is nothing like so. In every assembly, at 15, read it for yourself. In every assembly, the Torah of Moshe is read every Shabbat. Every Shabbat. So if you go to an assembly where the Torah is not read, you are in the wrong place. Either you warn your leader and you tell him he should teach the Torah. If he doesn't teach and he make his own doctrine, because I know that in some country, like the Philippines, where I have been living 3 years, I have seen they like to debate. Debate is a vain discussion. Debate is a vain discussion. In an assembly, you don't go to debate. You don't go to hear to promote the children's story, the children, you know, children ministry. What is that? Where do you get that in the Torah, children ministry? Don't you know that it is an obligation for the parents, for the father and the mother to teach the children? It is written. Go to the Proverbs chapter 6, you will see if you don't find it. And it is an obligation. In the Devarim chapter 6, we read it. You shall teach your children, not the leader of your assembly, nor those in the assembly, but the parents. That is, if your child fail to walk in the Torah, this is your responsibility. Your child, your obligation. If you don't do that, don't be deceived. If the child, when he's a grown up, do not walk in your ways, in the ways of the Torah, because you have done nothing for him. That is what it is our duty, to teach our children. And to trust Jehovah. When you teach the children, you trust Jehovah that he will do his part. He will impart the heart of your children with a love for the truth. But if we don't teach the truth, but we don't expect that the children walk in it. You understand? So this is something very important. I want to emphasize the love, because this love is not an abstract thing, you know. It's not like chocolate. I love chocolate, or I love mangoes. You know, no. It is a love which is from the inside, because Elohim loves us. If today we are all working together in the Torah, keeping the Shabbat, then it's because Elohim loves us. He has put that in our heart. And now we have to put that in our mind. The mind to love one another. If you don't love, if you begin to criticize your fellow because he's not like you, because he's not the name like you want, or you imagine it is so, then you have no love. You have no love. And that is a problem. If we don't have love, then we fail to do what the Torah commands us. So my brother and sister, when you read the parasha today, Va'etchanan, you have to see the consequences of not doing what Yod He Vav He says. You have to go to the Haftarah in the book of Yeshayahu chapter 40 and read for yourself what is the consequence of that. So please understand that reward and punishment are according to the Torah. We do it, we are blessed. We don't do it, we are rebellious children, and we fail. If you go to the book of Matthew, there is a very interesting parable which teaches about the wedding. And somebody come at the end, and he has not put the wedding garment, and he's cast out. He doesn't enter. He is not accepted in the wedding because he has not put the wedding garment. Have you prepared your wedding garment? Have we washed our garment? Are we ready to put the garment? Don't think it is a nice suit that you buy in the city there, in the mall, or with a nice shirt, and nice clothes, nice shoes. No. This wedding garment is the Torah. You need to be wrapped, to be clothed in the Torah. This is the teaching of the Torah. You go to the book of Shemot, chapter 19, you will see literal for spiritual. Understand that and you will grow. We need to dig into the Torah in order to be transformed. Apostle Shaul says in the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 2, he says, I beseech you, brethren, do not be conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind. How do I renew my mind? I renew my mind when I take the Torah and I will dig into it, and I will learn, and I will read, and I will read, and I will read, until it penetrates my soul and renews my mind. Because the majority of people who are walking in the Torah come from the world. They have been fed from their youth with the garbage of the world. How do I remove this garbage from the world? I cannot open the brain to cleanse it. No, I have to push in something new which will clean the mind and remove all the garbage we have been taught by parents, by children, by friends, by school, and so on. This is how we renew our mind. And for those who do not learn the Torah, they will go empty. There is no magic. There is just a principle. The Ruach HaKodesh will only take what you put in your heart. If we don't put anything in our heart, we go empty. This is why we shall love Yehovah, Yod He Vav He, our Elohim, with all our heart. How do I know that I love Yod He Vav He with all my heart? If I keep His commandments. That's not me. That's the Yohanan. That is how the Shaliach, the same one, those who were chosen by Yeshua himself, who teach that. So, brother and sister, this is a message I have for you today, that you do not be confused by the outsider, by those who pretend to teach and do not teach the Torah. Be careful to go back to the Torah, to take the time every Shabbat to read your parasha, to meditate on it, to seek the connection between the natural and the spiritual. We have two worlds. We live in the world of action, which is called the word Aziyah in Hebrew. So we have two worlds, and we have the words above, and we have to connect the words above with the word of action, the word of Aziyah. How do we do that? We do that by meditating on the Torah, by changing our life, by taking decision to walk according to the Torah. And so it works. It works in our life. People might not see, but Elohim see. Elohim see what we are doing. So we see here in the time of Moshe, the people reflect the carnal nature of man. The world of Aziyah, the world we are living now, is the world of animals. Carnal nature, animals. The Bene Adam is just an animal if he's not connected to his creator. It's just an animal. He lives like an animal. You know, the lion is looking for his prey because he's hungry. And the human being is doing the same because he's hungry, the same reason. But the spiritual man is looking for something higher, which the animal cannot do. So we have to transcend our own personality to live this world through the Neshama in us, to connect through Yeshua to the Father. So this is how we do it. But this is another teaching. And it's very important to understand that, because there is no magic, there is a work. He said to Adam, all the day of your life you will work, yeah, at the sweat of your eyebrow. You will work for that. To work is not to till the ground and to be a farmer. It is to work in the Torah, to be transformed, to be a people who is a spiritual person, so that when we leave this world, we don't go empty, but we are fed the inner man, and the inner man will be with Mashiach when he comes back. So this is a promise we have. So I hope you read the PARASHAH VA'ETCHANAN, which is, as I said before, in the last month of the life of Moshe, which is a special message for those who will enter the land of Canaan under the leadership of Yehoshua, the son of Nun. So this is the same message for us today. We are the generation who may see coming the Mashiach. So if you expect every day to see the Mashiach coming, then you need to do what is commanded by Moshe to the last generation, and to love Jehovah with all our heart, with all our being, with all our resources, with everything we have. So if we do that, we can stand firm and say, Father, I am here and I believe that we will see Mashiach coming. So I hope you will be blessed with this word, and if you have comments, you can do comments. You can write me if you have questions, and I will answer according to what I understand. So I wish you all a blessed week, coming week. A new Shavua will come, and learning the Torah, working together, walking in the love of one another, no matter what. Just trust Yehovah, and everything will be fine. So Shalom, Shavua Tov, see you next week.